I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America. Send a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. Now the American people will have to do what the courts should have been willing to do, but will not.
The Supreme Court just ruled in a horrendous way on the presidential immunity claims, and Biden also responded in a short press event, so I want to go over both, starting with the ruling from the Supreme Court, mainly because MAGA is now acting as if it's a get-out-of-jail-free card of sorts for Trump, when it more so poses a threat to our democracy than any of the Trump cases, as they ruled the president should have broad protections for most official acts, but not private ones or ones deemed unofficial, even if he is in office or was when he committed them, writing as such in their dissertation, though also elaborating that not all official acts will be protected either, specifically noting Trump's talking to Pence to overturn results and his fake elector scheme and such. So this does call into question more so things like the president ordering SEAL Team 6 to carry out attacks on unjustified targets, as that could read an official act, ordering drone strikes on things, etc., which poses major risk based off who is in office. It kind of brings up the Obama situation for me, but seemingly it would not protect Trump from installing fraudulent electors not certified by the state. That's not an official act, clearly, or stealing and hiding classified documents. Again, not an official act. Trying to pressure Mike Pence to overturn the election, not an official act. So the case will go back to lower courts to decide which actions are deemed official and which are not, which ones he gets the immunity from and which ones he doesn't. The main win for Trump here is that this almost definitely delays the trial until after the election, which is like what he was hoping for anyway, if we're being honest, rather than exonerate him from any of the charges. He's hoping to just win the election and pardon himself from them. At most, maybe a couple of the 54 could be thrown out, but the cases will still remain at large. Now, to Biden's response, I was hoping he would come out and go directly at the Supreme Court, pledge to reform it, elect me in a Democratic House and Senate, and we'll expand the court type of deal, which of course he did not, but I think his response was still just in nature and pretty well put together.
Now the American people will have to do what the courts should have been willing to do, but will not. The American people have to render a judgment about Donald Trump's behavior. The American people must decide whether Donald Trump's assault on our democracy on January 6th makes him unfit for public office in the highest office in the land. The American people must decide if Trump's embrace of violence to preserve his power is acceptable. Perhaps most importantly, the American people must decide if they want to entrust the president once again, the presidency, to Donald Trump, now knowing he'll be even more emboldened to do whatever he pleases whenever he wants to do it.
This was the best way to put it. Trump appointed 3 of the judges on the Supreme Court. He gave them the conservative majority that has single-handedly been ruling in these ways that are just disgraceful to democracy. And anyone who favors America over Trump, anyone who favors democracy over fascism, needs to decide if they see Trump as having the morals to lead again, when he showed the first time clearly he doesn't care to do immoral actions. Then you look at January 6th, when now he'll be even more emboldened to get away with most of the actions he could commit if they want more of the same from this Supreme Court, as the next 2 justices who get appointed will serve for decades. I mean, the rest of our lives probably, and we can either elect Trump and have more rulings like this for the rest of our lives, or keep Biden in office and allow sanity, allow dignity back into the highest court in the nation.
Nearly 4 years ago, my predecessor sent a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. We all saw it with our own eyes. We sat there and watched it happen that day. Attack on the police, the ransacking of the Capitol, a mob literally hunting down the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America. Now the man who sent that mob to the U.S. Capitol is facing potential criminal conviction for what happened that day. And the American people deserve to have an answer in the courts before the upcoming election. The public has a right to know the answer about what happened on January 6th before they are asked to vote again this year. Now, because of today's decision, That is highly, highly unlikely.
The court gave Trump his main wish to not face repercussions for the actions that he carried out on and leading up to January 6th, the pressuring of officials and attempts to steal the election with outright fake and fraudulent electors, as admitted by the team that was bringing these electors together, before then sending mobs to the Capitol who violently broke in hopes that he could delay the peaceful transfer of power so he can then curry favor with his base, say, see, I haven't been convicted of it, it's all a scam, attempt to appeal to the moderates in the same way without these convictions clearly looming over his head, and with Judge Cannon, another Trump appointee, prolonging the documents case as much as she can, it seems that it will in fact be up to the American people, not the courts, to render their judgment, especially as if Trump gets into office, we're back to impeachment, not felony convictions, as the only means to get him to face justice, and if Republicans hold either the House or the Senate, that will be a very unlikely task. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.